So here I'm going to review my two trades in AMD, where overall I lost 3 hours. I made so many mistakes on this one. It's going to be a longer video, and I have a lot to rant about to myself, of course. So, firstly, why did I put AMD on my radar? That reason itself is so flawed. So I saw the semis breaking out. If you look at SMH, even on a weekly, it made a new high here. So that was like a textbook low cheat on this day. And I piled into Soxel here. Yeah, this was the day it gapped up and it was breaking this cup and handle from this huge base. And of course, there's still a semi shortage, and we're all going to need semis. And I loaded up in my investment account. And frankly, I let a bullish bias come in. This trade was still fine. I'm going to review that in a different video. There was a gap up, there was volume, there was a clear stop area, and it did have follow through. This was fine. But once I added this, I just got overly bullish on semis in general, and I wanted to add as many semis as I could in my account. So that is when I started going through the list of all semis and I came across AMD. Now, AMD did have an earnings breakout here on this day, which was all well and good, but since then it had gone up like 20% and then pulled back and then was in this sort of chop zone. This is still fine and can be justified as something I could have put on my watch list, but this buy was just a buy of desperation. I wanted another semi in my name, and I was just trying to justify. I wanted another semi in my account, and I was just trying to justify a buy for some reason and add this on. So on this day, what I was looking at was the gap up in the morning, and then when it took out this pivot level, which you can see on the hourly, on not much significant volume actually. I just added this stock with a stop loss here, like a swing stop loss. Yeah, I was so desperate to get semis in my accounts. I was giving them such wide stops because I didn't even want to get shaken out. Hold on, correction. This was not the stop. The stop was actually this here. Yeah, sorry about that. This is the stop on the next trade that I'll go through. So this was the original stop, the previous day's low, which itself, in hindsight, was a mistake. I should have just taken the low of day, and that would have stopped me out. So, anyways, this one did stop me out the 2 days later, and I lost 1 hour in that process. Then I still hadn't learned my lesson. I still wanted to add semis in my account, and I was now looking to revenge trade on AMD. I was so bullish on this. I couldn't believe that this had more room to the downside, and I thought, oh, okay. After it made this transition bar on this day, I thought, yeah, it's going to turn around and go up now, and this would be a stop. So as soon as it broke this level out, I added it back in. The R wall was nothing great to speak about, and I put a ridiculously wide stop on this. I put half my stop on this day and then half my stop on this swing low. So I got a staggered stop of around 180R. And as you can see, right after I bought it, in fact, I remember this, 2 minutes after I bought it, it went back into the day's range. And since it only kept falling. The next day, it gapped down. I was still in denial. I was like, how can this not work? I had a stop here, which was below the 20 MA, and I kept hoping and praying it's going to turn around from the 20 MA and go back up, thereby making a higher low, but it didn't even do that. Finally, I had to let both my stop losses hit yesterday, and I lost another 1 hour in that process. So that brings me down to minus 2 hour on AMD. To pile on to all of these mistakes, I actually took a double sized position. Mistakenly, I didn't even realize that until I saw the PNL. So instead of a 25 basis position, it was a 50 basis point position. So I lost another 1 hour than I had planned to lose. So that's a total loss of 3 hour on this trade. But I learned a lot of things in the process. One is I do have a tendency to have a sector bias. So once I see a particular ETF breaking out of a really big base, long term base, like in this case, that was a semi ETF, I tend to get overly bullish on them and then tend to forcefully add on trades in that sector, even if I can't find any good ones. That is something I definitely need to work on. And I need to let these stocks come to me rather than actively go hunting for them and look for, okay, which semi can I add on or which solar can I add on? Just because I see it running for 1 or 2 days. Two, AMD on this earning day, it did pop up in my scanner. I did see that it had broken out on earnings, but there was a good reason that I passed on it and never added it to my universe of earnings winners. Simple reason being that it's a very, very old stock and a very old trend. AMD has been running up since $1 to now 92. It's already gone up 8,000%. Is it a future market leader? No, it's not because it's already been a market leader in the past. My list of highly selective earnings winners are usually the names that are more recent IPOs or that really shock the market. Something like Duolingo, which I just added today, which is coming out of an IPO base, and no one expected it to have so many subscribers. It's a new product, something that has the potential to make that 7,000% move versus something that has already made the 7,000% move. So I wasn't keen on AMD initially, and I should have stayed away from it. But the fear of missing out this rally in the semis just made me pile into it forcefully. Three is I gotta be more careful about position sizing. I figured out what the error was on my Excel that caused that issue with position sizing, and I'm going to be more careful about that in the future. I remember KQ on one of his streams saying position sizing is the most important thing, and once you start trading a larger account, you'll see how true that is. That is absolutely the difference between what will make or break your account. You have to be so careful with what size positions you take. And the third one, the third thing I learned, or fourth thing, whatever, was my tendency when I'm really desperate to get in on a trend to put wider stops. I always tend to do that so that I can really, really make sure I'm not stopped out and I stick in the stock. But what that's made me realize is that whenever I'm taking wide stops, it just means I have less conviction in the stock breaking out on that day. So that itself, my need to take my desire to take a wider stop itself indicates how little conviction I have. So that can warn me going forward. So, and keep me away from these kinds of low conviction trades. And as far as whether I would put AMD again on my radar and trade it again, no, I wouldn't. Simply because it's not a stock that I think is going to make an explosive move or be a future market leader. This is, I guess, this is more for day traders or scalpers. or even really short term swing traders, but not something that I would want to waste my time on. So for now, I've taken it off my universe, off the list of earnings winners, and I'm going to take these lessons that I learned from this very expensive trade and hopefully not repeat them in the future.